Hey guys, good evening. Who is here? I want to welcome you guys. I saw a few of you were waiting for me. Um, Let me see. I'm hopping down looking at the chat. And I'm going to move my laptop so I'm looking a little bit more at you guys instead of over to the side. Hello, Catherine. How are you? How was your day? Oh, and Tori's here too. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Patrick is here. Melinda is here. Thank you guys. PJ Nano Farm, how are you? Welcome. How was everyone's day? What did you do? All right. So it looks like I had a question before I even got in here. So while everybody hops in and says hello, I'm going to address that. It was Patrick said, "Hey Emily, question about ANC. I have 1,000 cocoons coming in 2 days. What kind of bedding and other materials and amounts of it should I have ready?" Since they'll be coming soon, I would suggest that you get some bedding ready now and like set up the bin. Whatever you're going to put them in, set it up. I think that a variety is definitely a good thing. So I would maybe do a mix of shredded newspaper, shredded cardboard. If you have like coconut coir or peat moss, that's really good to add. Maybe mix in some coffee grounds to kind of help getting like the microbial activity going. Definitely put a little bit of buffer in there, so like some crushed eggshell, crushed oyster shell, something like that. It's definitely good to set up your bin before cocoons or worms or anything arrive, so definitely do that. Zia Waste, welcome. Amber's Amusement, good evening. Hello, hello guys. Yeah, Patrick, any other questions, feel free to let me know, but that's my best advice for getting started. I've definitely started bins without kind of preparing ahead of time, and it just takes the system a lot longer to take off. And with African night crawlers, also keep in mind that the cocoons will probably struggle to hatch as well if it's not warm. So find a way to keep the bin warm, add extra coffee grounds, keep it near a vent that's going to be giving heat, something like that. I don't know where you live, but definitely do that. Let me see. Tori, I got your package in the mail. I love these earrings. I wanted to say thank you to Tori. And Tiffany also sent me some of her castings to try against mine. So that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to trying that out. So thank you, Tiffany, as well. Let's see. How big of a bin for 1,000 cocoons, Patrick said. It's personal. Like if you're really looking for the population to grow quickly, I would definitely start with a larger bin, but you could start it with like a 10-gallon tote, and then once they hatch and start to grow, then you can move them to something larger. Hello, Grant. Welcome. Matt, Nightcrawler Composting, how are you? I appreciate you stopping by. Certainly you can check it out later. Absolutely, Patrick, I'm happy that was able to help you a little bit. So, guys, we've had like a really nice warm couple of days. It's been really, really nice. I hope you guys saw my video today. If not, go check it out. I went and tackled some of the outdoor bin activity, and I found worms that are alive and well. So it was a really, really encouraging thing for me. Oh, Wayne Tadlock, I'm glad you made it in. Thank you very much. Let's see. David Grigo, where's the best place to purchase? Are you looking to purchase worms, cocoons? What are you looking for? PJ Nano Farm, they looked great. Yeah, I was super impressed considering that like the last 2 weeks prior to this week, we were having like single digits even during the day, and it warmed up a little bit and we were having like teens at night and like 20s during the day, but there were big chunks of ice in that bin. So to go in there today and find living worms was pretty awesome. Lilia, welcome. Hello to all of my worm pals. Hope you are staying warm and dry. Yeah, Lilia, it's raining here actually. I'm glad I got out there to look at the outdoor worms earlier today. David wants to know where to purchase worms. Definitely do your research. I would avoid going with the big box companies that you would find like on Amazon. You don't always get what you order. I do sell worms through my website, but certainly you have no obligation to purchase from me. But that is linked in the description below, and that's thecrazywormlady.com. It's snowing where you live, Tori. Ugh, yuck. Tiffany said, Ron says, Tiffany sends you a bag of poop and you say thank you. Yes, I do say thank you. I'm excited to give it a shot. Oh, yeah, Tiffany says, I didn't light it on fire or anything like that. Yeah, I have a bag myself to send to her that I think I'm going to try to get into the mail tomorrow. I haven't been getting everything done that I want to. I'm still getting back into the swing of things after being away for a while. But these castings look gorgeous, Tiffany. Like, absolutely beautiful. I have a little something planned for this, for sure. Already been thinking about it, so that'll be fun. Wayne. Hi all, I don't want to tie up the thread. We love you talking, Wayne. Don't you feel bad about that. We're happy to have you. What's it like out there in Kansas? No hurry, this is going to be fun, says Tiffany. I think it is going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I want to say, Tiffany, you might have been the one to mention trying the pothos plants, and I may have bought 2 with an intention of trying my castings versus your castings. Just to see if there's any, insanely large difference. I think both plants will do fantastic. I think it'll be fun, though. Yes, Tori, thank you. If you guys haven't hit the like button, please hop over and hit that like. It helps people to find me. Looks like there's 22 of you in here now and only 8 likes. So I would love if you could hit that like button for me. So, anybody have any new experiments in the works? I would love to hear about it. I, like I said, got some pothos plants, and I'm looking to try that out with some castings. I also got some succulents, of course. Got some very pretty succulents here. So I am actually thinking about trying some castings mixed in with the cactus mix, which should be very controversial, to be honest with you, to see if the water retaining aspect of the castings will be a negative for a cactus style plant. I bought 2 sets of these, 6 plants to try. Mountain Bushcrafters Alliance coming in for the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Grant says hello. Oh, Bushcrafter Alliance had a singing live stream last night. I'm gonna have to hop over and check that out. PG Nano Farm. How long does it take to get compost going with 1 pound of young red wigglers? Well, to mature, it would take a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so. And then after that, it's gonna take off because they'll start reproducing and they'll be able to go through the scraps pretty quickly. You'll be surprised at how large and how quickly their populations can grow. Lilia, I think I missed it. Did you start a new experiment? Going back up to see. Because Lilia said, I freed up some space and I just couldn't help myself. Will post soon. I'm hoping that might be something new in the works. I'm excited about that. Tiffany says, that's a good idea. I use them in my aloe vera plant. Is that considered a cactus? I do believe it is considered a cactus, yes. New experiment. My breeder test turned into neglected breeder test, said Wayne. That's okay, Wayne. Mine might as well be neglected. They are refusing to reproduce for me. I haven't seen a single cocoon yet. WTF Mike. Hey, crazy worm lady. Welcome. I appreciate you hopping in here. Captain America. I feed my worms marijuana. That should be interesting. Hello, Zia Waste. Everybody, check out each other's channels. Click on their little icon in the chat, hop over, take a look at it. You might find some really great resources and some new channels to follow. Let's see. Bronscombe Farm. I need a worm bin under my rabbits to help break down all that poop. I hear a lot of people do that, and that they have a lot of success, and the worms just thrive in those, well, below those cages. That would be really cool to hear about. Rochelle, sunny in California again, wondering if I can use some castings only for fertilizer this year in the garden. I think that's what I'm going to do this year. I would love for you to try it, and keep me posted, and I'll probably do the same thing. So, let's see here. Swampy Acres Homestead. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Let's see. Everybody's still saying hello. Zia Waste, so that's Tiffany, says, I wonder if you have to age the rabbit manure like cow and horse manure. I don't believe you do. I think that it doesn't heat up the way the other manures do, so it'd be interesting to hear about. Mickey, oh my gosh, Mickey XOXO hopped in here. Thank you so much for hopping in. I know you are going live pretty soon here. BSF Outdoors, is that Black Soldier Flies? Hello, welcome. Oh, look at all these people in here. Thank you, thank you. If you haven't, please hop over and click the like button for me. Bronscombe Farm, would I need to feed them anything else? Hay and poop fall on the ground from under the rabbits, so it's a cold manure. You wouldn't have to. Worms can survive completely on manures. You guys are moving fast. Ron says, I heard rabbit manure is kind of like magic. Great stuff for worms. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I am so happy. Mickey, I am doing okay. Thank you for asking. Slow and steady. I actually got out today and went and had a massage, so feeling really good right now. Potato pieces are growing out of my worm bin, says Captain America. Yeah, the root vegetables, if you don't freeze them or break them down in some way to begin with, they will sprout on you. I've had like celery try to grow up through my bins, and the same with ginger, things like that. Let's see. BSF Outdoors, thanks for stopping by. Yes, thank you. I have so much poop I'm planning to spread on the garden, but it's still so much. But you could spread some in your lawn, some in your garden. You'll attract some native worms, which will also be really beneficial for the garden. I don't think you can lose that way. K13, hi, brand new to this, but what do you recommend to increase breeding red wigglers? Honestly, like if you're starting out, a smaller space to start them in is probably beneficial, because if they're closer together, they're going to mate and lay cocoons for you. So maybe start small, start getting lots of cocoons, getting them going, and then you can expand once you start getting some of those hatchlings. Let's see. Did I miss anything here? Okay. I have a massive pile of red worms. Started it with rabbit, cow, and chicken, I'm guessing manure. Oh, they came in naturally. Never put any in the pile. So all of your red worms were attracted to the manures. Yeah, I hear that. A lot of people source their original red wigglers simply by going like to a horse stable and getting themselves some manure. You dig in that pile, it's loaded with worms. There's 24 of you guys in here. I only have 22 thumbs up, so if you would please hop over and hit the like button if you're in here, I appreciate it. Brett, love the succulents you have growing. We have thousands. Yours look really good. They're brand new. I haven't done anything with them just yet, but they arrived in great condition considering I ordered them online. Mickey is saying hi to Tori at Anarchy Worm Bin. She said hello from Texas. What's the temperature like in Texas, Mickey? Black Soldier Fly Outdoors. Don't know who would waste money buying them if they could source them. Absolutely. Captain America, preparing the worm castings and waiting for May. I hate winter. Yeah, I agree. Mickey said it's 74 in Texas. It was, what, 63 degrees here yesterday, and it was like 50 some degrees today. That's why I was able to get out and update the overwintering experiment. Captain America moved to Texas, Mickey says. Yeah, Mickey, Anarchy Worm Bin, Tori is out in Utah, so I think she's getting snow. Oh, that's very nice. Tori is spreading the love, checking everybody's channels out. I appreciate that. Definitely go check these people out. Might learn something new. I'm going to have to do the same when we're done here. Amber Sherry says, hello everyone. I'm new to the live stream. Welcome. I appreciate it, Amber. If you wouldn't mind, click the like button for me. Melinda, 80 here in St. Petersburg, Florida, and sunny all day. It was overcast this morning. Now it's raining here. Tiffany, it's snowing again in New Mexico. Ugh. All of our snow that we had like 2 weeks ago is completely gone, and now it's just muddy and wet. Nicholas says, how do I get rid of red spider mites? Welcome, Nicholas. I don't think I've seen you in here before. I use neem cake and neem oil. It works really, really well on the spider mites. You can purchase that. But if you don't want to do that, just adding a ton of dry bedding and skipping a few weeks feeding will definitely decrease the number that you have. But the neem actually has a way to sterilize the mites that you can get in your bin, so it helps their numbers from exploding. And then over time they die off, which is definitely what we want. Let's see. AJ Outdoors, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. PJ Nano Farm, we just got our first snow. Now they're saying Friday we will be dumped on after a full winter of 50 degrees. Wow. How much are they calling for? I don't know if I recall where you live, PJ Nano Farm. I think after being 63 yesterday, they said we might get some snow and ice this weekend. Who knows? It's so nice to see everybody in here. Thank you. Brett says it was only 36 today in Washington, getting more snow at the end of the week. Yeah, it sounds like that's what we're going to be getting too. Swampy Acres Homestead, hello. I do have some topics I wanted to talk about, but I just wanted to give you guys a chance to say hi, check each other out. Please keep in mind for, the streams, try not to use the word subscribe in the chat. If you want to go check people out, and I encourage you to do so, just do it. You can say, sending you the love, showing support, but when you use the word subscribe, it can actually hurt your subscriber count. So you just want to avoid that. PJ says, I am in Washington State. They said over 5 inches, which is a lot. Yeah, we had like 8 or 9 inches 2 weeks ago, but in Maryland, that's not completely unusual. Ron says, we got freezing rain last night. It took me hours to clean our pavement. Yeah, the freezing rain and ice, that's what I really don't like. Snow is, difficult, but the ice is like scary to drive on. You can fall on the sidewalk. As a nurse, we see so many people come in with fractures from falling on the ice. Everyone is doing well. So if you missed my update earlier today, I did an update on the overwintering bin. Like I said, there was a ton of ice. Actually, like the leaves that were in there had chunked up in pieces of ice. And when I was going out to check on it, my compost thermometer, which the minimum on it is 40 degrees, was not even registering. So I know that it was freezing in that bin. So I did not expect to go out there and find living worms, but I dug in there today. I put lots of food and things that will heat up hopefully, and quite a few worms. Even some baby worms, red wigglers and European night crawlers were the main worms that I saw in there. Oh, PJ Nano Farm and Brett are saying hi to each other. They both live in Washington. Ron, we got lucky this time, no tree damage from the ice. Yeah, that's good. Knocks out your power and no good. We had a tree fall 2 years ago when we had some ice in the backyard. We had a massive tree fall in the backyard. It was a pain. I had to ask for some help from my boyfriend and his family, and they came over and were able to chop it up and get rid of it for us, but it was no fun. Carlos Acuna, hello, welcome. Let's see, Miles of Worms, oh my gosh. Jay and Kayla, how are you guys tonight? Thank you for hopping on. I shouted you guys out on my last live stream, and I saw that you have some new videos up. I have not gotten to watch them, but I have not forgotten about them. I have it written down to check it out today. I think you guys were having some issues maybe with your like garbage can, recycle can bin, if I recall. So I'd like to see that, definitely. Miles of Worms, are you guys in Washington too? It seems like we have a couple people from Washington here. I'm glad that you caught me as well. I was really excited to see your videos go up, and I always enjoy. So I'm glad you were able to hop in here. In 2012, we had our back porch roof caved in by a fallen branch. Oh, Ron, that's terrible. Lots of people from Washington in here. It sounds like 3 of you guys. So I'm just trying to take a look at some of the questions that I got that I wanted to address tonight. If you guys still have some questions in the meantime, that's fine. I'm in no rush. Yeah, Tori says she used to visit a friend in Seattle, but Tori's in Utah. It's your favorite state to be in, Tori? I've never been there. Now you're going to make me want to go visit. I always just thought it was like nothing but rain. I mean, I hear that they have some beautiful parks and all, though. Okay. So maybe I'll just talk up a few of these points that people left me some questions on it. Brett says, come out here and do a worm tour. Ooh, that would be fun. Please hit the like button if you're new, just hopped in here. I did get a question from Galen. She said, when is it time to harvest? How do I know it's time to harvest? And I think that's a really interesting question. Oh, now they're talking about illicit drugs. What did I miss? Oh, green everywhere and illicit drugs out in Washington. I gotcha, okay. So yeah, I want to answer Galen's question. So, knowing when it's time to harvest is individual. The material is completely composted. They'll just sift out what's in there and then pour the rest back in. I do that a lot of times. But really, when you see most of the bedding is composted, there's not any more noticeable food, that is when I would say it's time to think about harvesting, either baiting your worms out, migrating them over, whatever suits you. But, the finished compost, I'm going to use Tiffany's that she sent me here. I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on a camera, but you can see they're just fine little particles. Almost look like little grains of rice. And that to me is, when you're seeing a lot of that in your bins, some people say it resembles coffee grounds as well. That's when it's time to start harvesting. but there's not a rush on it. You don't have to harvest just because everything's composted. It can sit there for a while. You can add a little bit more and wait. I've heard people say that like up to 4 or 5 years, the compost loses nothing as long as you keep it moist. That the microbial life stays in there. It doesn't lose nutrients. So go for it. Oh, I missed something. Mickey saying, I hope you feel better. Grant, if you're sick, I hope you feel better as well. What did I miss here? Oh, Grant says he has a migraine. Oh, I know how that is. I'm sorry, Grant. Melinda, Grant, you need a beer. That will help. At least you'll forget about it, maybe. Depends how many. AJ, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. You have a good night. Your bin almost always looks finished to me. Which bins are you talking about? Because if you think, and you've seen my side-by-side, the reproduction games that Lilia has kindly called it, in there it's just nothing but bedding right now. And in like my continuous flow through systems, when I pull back all that top bedding, it's finished compost, but the top is not. It's just a slow process, especially when you're first getting started, but you'll start to be able to see that the castings are developing in your bin. A lot of times if you kind of scrape down to the bottom, since there's such fine little particles, the castings kind of fall to the bottom and you'll see them there. And your worms look fatter than mine. Tori, who are you saying that your worms look fatter than mine? Fat Man Fishing, hello, welcome. Gabrielle, just fed my reds some rotten asparagus and zucchini from the bottom of the fridge. Life is good. I always am happy now to be able to put those items that get pushed to the back or in the bottom of the crisper and they go bad, and you don't have to just toss them. You can put them in the bin. AJ's garden, and I don't know if I saw you come in here or you've just been quiet. I'm happy that you're here. Please hit the thumbs up. Yes, thank you, Grant. Oh, Tori, my worms look fatter than yours. And see, and I'm always thinking that like Lilia's worms, I have like total envy of Lilia's worms, that they're always so fat and they look so red. And I can't decide if that's like a camera thing, but they're so pretty. Joel, howdy. Did you ever come to terms with mites? I get explosions constantly, no matter how little food, water, or etc. I was able to get rid of most of my mites. I still am not a fan of them. I get a few here and there. But, you know, again, it's all part of the ecosystem of the worm bin. So some of those critters are just going to have to be expected. But I was talking earlier about using neem cake in my bins. Neem cake has been very beneficial for me. Tori, don't tell me that the camera adds 5 pounds. Maybe to the worms. I hope not to me. But yeah, I use neem cake. And neem cake has the ability to like sterilize the pests that eat it. So when you put it in the worm bin, it's completely safe. It acts almost as a food and a nutrient source for the worms. But when the springtails, the mites, all of those things eat them, they're sterilized so that the population explosions of those mites don't happen. Joel, neem, it's Neem, and I actually did link it in the description below. Working on mealworm bin. Ooh, I think Grant has some videos on mealworms that I've watched. If you feed your worms cornmeal, you won't get mites, says Captain America. That's an interesting thing. We don't like to use the F word here in California. Just call them fluffy. That's another F word, though. Fat, fluffy. Oh. Well, your worms are very fluffy. PG Nano Farms. I'm pretty sure the camera adds 20 pounds to me, but it's just me. I don't know about that. Yeah, Joel, you're welcome. Neem has been awesome for me because I really didn't like when there were the huge numbers of them, and some of the fast-moving ones would start to run up your arm. Not my thing. Now I really don't have an issue. Bass and Bucks, welcome First time on the live stream. I'm happy to have you. Thank you very much. Please click the like button for me. AJ's Garden, it's an aphrodisiac. The worms, to the worms, the neem cake is. I didn't know that. Good to know. Apparently neem can actually be consumed by humans as well. It has a lot of benefits. I have not looked into that really, but I did hear about it. Fat man fishing, nothing wrong with fat. Definition of fat is teddy bear. Exactly. Galen says, I was trying to figure out what happened to my mites. Strange that cornmeal would do that. Yeah, I'm not sure how that would do that either, but it is interesting. Gabrielle's staying warm. Are you talking about my location here or something else? I may have missed it. Swampy Acres Homestead. Mealworms are our next endeavors as well. Grant says mealworms are easier than composting worms. Nicholas, welcome. I appreciate it. Click the like button for me. What big plans are in the works for the Crazy Worm Lady in 2019? So I was mentioning earlier, I bought some succulents. I have 6 different types of succulents here. I have absolutely no experience with succulents at all, but I bought 2 sets of identical succulents, and because they're cactus, it's kind of, I think a little controversial, the idea of using castings because they retain water so well, but I'm thinking of trying side by side using some castings in the cactus mix when I repot these. I just got them the other day. So I'm going to do some more side by sides. I think I'm going to try a pally experiment. I might be doing some more of the oyster shell versus the winner of the eggshell versus sand, or maybe like eggshell versus my dry mix. We'll see. I've had a couple of suggestions for various things. Definitely some outside experiments when the good weather comes, I'm hoping for as well. Have you ever put ANC in the worm towers? Rochelle asked. No. I really think that those tower systems are not very conducive for using the night crawlers. The Europeans would probably be fine, but the African night crawlers really don't migrate up. Now, in my opinion, none of the worms migrate up very well in those tower systems, but I think if you want your worms to really be feeding in your top tray, you're going to want like red wigglers or blue worms. Gabrielle, what are your future projects in the kitchen? I recently joined the kombucha cult, and it's super fun. Join us, join us. I have to look into that because I do like kombucha, and it's expensive to buy. But I cook, but I'm not very adept in the kitchen. I just kind of do the basic stuff, but I did get an air fryer that I want to try. I have a Instapot that I really like, but I do want to work on my air fryer, get that going and see what that's all about. People rave about it. Dickie Mo, welcome. I didn't see you come in. Are you new? Please hit the like button for me. Can you poop in the worm towers? Is that what you said? Worms do like poop, yes, but I would not use human poop. Some people do that, but it's definitely not going to be safe to use on your edible plants. Mountain Bushcrafters, you have to leave. I understand. I appreciate you stopping by. Have a good night. Let's see here. Okay. I want an Instapot, but I have a big, beautiful crock pot I don't want to go to waste. Could you donate the crock pot to like a Goodwill or Salvation Army? Because I loved my crock pot and I actually still have it, but it's put away in the cabinet. But the Instapot, because you can cook food so quickly, it's incredible. I can take a frozen chicken breast and throw it in there to make like a chicken salad in 12 minutes from frozen to ready to shred. It's really cool. My Hillside Garden Catherine is saying Instant Pots are awesome. Yeah, you can make like a beef stew in like 30 minutes. It's really cool. Is Fat Man Fishing leaving? Happy you were here. Have a good night. Yeah, Catherine says don't get rid of the crock pots. Yeah, I didn't get rid of mine because I do use it on occasion still. But my Instapot like stays on my counter. Marilyn. Welcome. I didn't see you come in. Thank you. She says sell the crock pot on Facebook Marketplace. You could do that. There's a lot of options so you don't have to throw it away, or you can just keep it if you have the space. AJ's garden. Only if you're full vegan could you use your own feces. I still don't know if I would. We have some unusual bacteria and parasites in our gut, but there are some people out there that compost human waste, and you know, they just use it on like the shrubbery and things like that, but it's just a fine line of like the safety aspect for me that I wouldn't personally want to do that. But I know it's a big kind of idea and movement trying to implement some of that in third world countries to manage their waste when they don't have the plumbing and the sewage systems like we do. Yeah, Catherine, I need to go back and watch your video on making bone broth, because it would be really cool if I could do bone broth and make it really quickly using the Instapot, because I know if you make actual bone broth, it can take hours. Yeah, I think like up to a day even. David Pruitt, hello. I would donate the crock pot to church. They always have get-togethers and could use it. That's a good idea too. Zia Ways, yeah, Tiffany says pathogens are bad. You really need to be careful, and that's exactly what I want people to understand. That composting food scraps is very different than composting human waste, especially even animal waste to a degree. But you have to be careful. Looks like a couple people in Southern Illinois. So we have some Washington people, some Southern Illinois people. Very cool. Looks like Tori's multitasking. Awesome. Wayne says, human feces, of course it's a movement. I get it. Marion, Illinois. Mesa County. So lots of fun stuff. You guys all live near each other. That's always fun. Miles of Worms. Bone broth is the best. We do 48 hours plus in the crock pot. It's just not the same in the Instapot, in your opinion. I could try both. I need you guys to set me up with your recipes how to do it, because I don't know much at all about doing that. How often do you harvest your castings in your vermi bag or urban worm bag? Says Cindy. Welcome, Cindy. If you haven't hit the like button, please do that for me. It took me, gosh, maybe 6 or 7 months before I was able to harvest the urban worm bag for the first time, because you know, starting it, you want it to be nearly full before you harvest. But now that my vermi bag mini is full, my urban worm bag, well, one of them is full, I could technically be harvesting every week or every other week, because it depends on how much you're taking out of the bottom. But because it's so deep and the worms are staying up top where the food is, you can harvest very frequently once you have a really successful, what do you call it? Like a continuous flow through going. Tiffany said, I had such a fun time watching Catherine's broth giggle last week. I don't know if I missed that video. I'm going to have to go over to Catherine's channel, check that out. If you guys haven't checked each other out, please go check each other's channels, see if there's some interesting content you'd like to learn about and support their channels. That'd be great. If I oil sweet potato and bake it, can I still feed the skins to the worms? Absolutely, you can. Small amounts of things like, you know, trace amounts of oils, things like that, it's completely fine. Fat Man Fishing is from Pennsylvania. Catherine, My Hillside Garden, who's in here, is also from Pennsylvania. Lilia, if I'm 100% vegan, will my poop be okay for composting? Lilia, are you vegan? I didn't know that, although I know you have a large family, but you always have so many scraps that would make sense. Witch on Wheels, welcome. Thank you for coming in. I always love Witch on Wheels. She's got such positivity. Marilyn, so I'm just starting my third worm bin from Overflow Red Wigglers. My husband is wondering where the dining is disappearing to because all the bins and accessories. Yeah, there's a lot, but the worms can process so much, so hopefully he'll be happy when you can fertilize the lawn, the garden, all of those things. Super cool. Ah, Lilia, that explains how you are able to keep up, because I have to source scraps from other people. Witch on Wheels, so are you. So are you. I love when I'm able to catch your live streams. Although I don't know if I could sit outside as long as you do, talking to everybody. AJ's Garden, I do broth in a big stock pot for 48 hours. It's just baked bones with onions, garlic, carrots, celery, bay leaf, peppercorns, thyme. Cover with water, bring to a boil, and then turn down to a simmer. I'm definitely open to trying that, because I bought bone broth before, and that again is expensive, just like the kombucha that everybody is saying is fun to make. I need to try to do some of this myself. Rochelle, I'm vegan 50 years. I'm jealous because you guys probably have so many scraps. Although I don't know if I could go without meat, to be honest with you. I like a little bit of everything. Catherine says it's so easy to make, just save all the meat bones in the freezer. We talking like beef bones, chicken bones, things like that? I have one section for worm food and one for soup and meat broth. Oh, in your freezer, I'm thinking. Ken Rundle, hello, welcome. Very cool. I will have to start saving bones. What is the best worms for year-round outside composting? David's asking. European night crawlers are definitely going to be the best. They can't tolerate quite as warm temperatures, but they can tolerate it very cold. And I think that's why my Europeans are doing so well outside. But Larry from the Blue Worm Bin, it's thebluewormbin.com. He's got an email list, lots of information. He's like an expert in this field, and he definitely told me right off the bat that he thought the Europeans would do the best. AJ's Garden says, simmer for as long as you want until you get the desired taste that you want in the bone broth. You can use whatever bones you have. I've cooked for 15 years. Yeah, I cook. I just don't typically make my own bone broth. Well, actually, my boyfriend makes like some vegetable stocks and things like that. I just am more of a casserole maker. I like to prep food for when I work, things like that, but nothing fancy. Zia Waste. I haven't had to outsource scraps yet, but I can't wait to hit up my friends for their food scraps. Yeah, I have a friend who ended up leaving our job, and she would always bring me scraps on Friday when we both work weekends. So she'd always have a bag or two, like a full Ziploc bag or two full of scraps. And now she moved to a new job, and she actually stopped by the other day when I was working and dropped 4 bags off for me, which was really cool. Yeah, I'm with you, Witch on Wheels. I'm not opposed to vegans, vegetarians. We can all get along, do whatever works for you. Because I know you're a vegan, I believe. David Pruitt, do you have Europeans for sale? Yes, on my website. They are up there for sale. I'm trying to keep up with you guys. You're moving very fast. I appreciate you all being in here and talking. Good night, Tori. Thank you for stopping by. Anarchy Worm Bin is heading out of here. She posted a very enjoyable video late last night, so if you haven't hopped over to her channel, go check it out. She is so funny. Oh, AJ's Garden says he's a chef. Oh, that's so cool. Fat Man Fishing. I'm in a hotel and a bunch of old folk are in the lobby knocking down wine bottles one after the other. They are quite funny and loud. Interesting. Maybe they've had a little bit too much to drink. PJ Nana Farm, she's great. I love her. I know. Me too. Tiffany had asked Lilia, said, Tori, I love your dog. I know her dogs are so cute. Her dogs are adorable. Tiffany Zia Waste asked me to talk a little bit about my dry mix, so I thought I would talk about that for a minute. So, most of you know that I do use a dry mix. Trevorfoot, I didn't see you come in here. Welcome. So I do use a dry mix as a buffer in my bin. So I use a combination of oyster shell, kelp meal, neem cake, and what am I missing? Oyster shell, kelp meal, neem cake, and diatomaceous earth. And I just kind of eyeball the ratio. It doesn't really matter, but I enjoy it because I was always adding oyster shell or eggshell, and I liked the idea of the kelp meal and the diatomaceous earth for their trace minerals, and also diatomaceous earth can be good for like bug control, but it has to be wet. I mean wet. It has to be dry. It can't be wet to be effective, but I do like putting it in the bins, but the neem cake is what I really use for like bug control. So I just made that mix up and I just dump some in every time I feed. Fat Man Fishing, there's 5 empty bottles on the table and only 6 of them, so I'm thinking they've been here a little while. That's funny. David Pruitt, you're awesome. Take your time answering. I just don't want to ignore you guys or not acknowledge everybody in here. I appreciate that. Catherine, the diatomaceous earth does not hurt the worms. They can actually use it as a grit source from my understanding as well. It's such a fine powder, but apparently because it's like a silica, it does have some grit factor to it. But when I was having a lot of mites early on, I put a bunch of diatomaceous earth in an empty tray on my worm factory. So on the very top, I filled it with newspaper and cardboard and sprinkled diatomaceous earth in there, and that did help somewhat with the mites, but I think the neem cake is even better. Yeah, Grant uses the neem oil as well. I do, but not quite as often anymore because I don't have as many mites, but that's good if you dilute it and wipe down like the walls of your bins. It discourages the mites as well. Marilyn, does the diatomaceous earth have to be food grade? I personally would like it to be food grade because I want the most, or the closest to organic compost as I can get. But I don't necessarily know that it would have to be. You could always just try a little bit. AJ's Garden says yes, use food grade. Tiffany says I use eggshell, diatomaceous earth, and garden lime. I don't know why, it's just what I learned with. Yeah, and I think Tori uses azomite and dolomite lime. You can make a combination of whatever you want, or you can just use the old eggshells. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. Lilia says, I take a tablespoon of diatomaceous earth with a little water every morning on an empty stomach. It has silica and it's great for hair, skin, and nails. Wow, that's fascinating. What does it taste like? Is it like a chalky consistency? AJ's Garden says he also likes the neem. That's really, really interesting because I buy collagen, like a powdered collagen, that I use for my hair, skin, and nails that I mix in my coffee. It's kind of flavorless. Making America Great Again. Hello and welcome. Please click the like button for me if you wouldn't mind. Rochelle says both daughters vegetarian entire lives, 29 and 26 years. If you enjoyed dancing. Oh. Rochelle's daughter is a professional choreographer and dancer. That's awesome. Lilia says it tastes like chalk. I've got a big bag of it. I could try. Yeah, Lily, I understand that since you're vegan, you don't do collagen. But diatomaceous earth would be a lot cheaper than like the tub of collagen that I get that lasts me about a month that I think is like $15. So that's very fascinating. I like that. So let's see. Actually, Rochelle had posted a question to me the other day about splitting the bins, when it's time to split the bins, because she's thinking about an urban worm bag and kind of dreads the tower systems. So I will address that a little bit. I agree that the tower systems are not ideal for most people. Not that they don't work, they work, but they don't work as advertised, and they can cause a lot of frustrations for people, and we don't want people to quit composting because they start with a tower system, it doesn't work the way they want, and then they just throw in the towel with it. So honestly, I would prefer just doing regular totes, something like that, that I can kind of mix up better. So for me, when it's time to split a bin is whenever you want. Lilia, myself, several people have started bins with just a handful of worms. So if you want to split a bin, split it. Take a handful out, put it in another bin in another system, and let them reproduce to fill the space that you have for them. But the urban worm bag, no, you don't need it. But if you're looking for a system with a large capacity that works much better than a tower system, it works pretty close to the advertisement as it can be. Similar to the Vermi bags are the same way. The continuous flow throughs just work so well because you're never digging in the very bottom, so it becomes very compacted. And so as you're feeding, bedding food all the way up to the top, the bottom's just getting nice and compact, so all the worms move up. And I would say when I harvest, I maybe have a handful of worms in the bottom, but honestly, you wouldn't even have to pick them out if you were just going to throw it into the garden. That's a personal thing, but the flow-throughs to me are the easiest to manage. There are some that aren't as good as others. A lot of people have issues with the hungry bins because they're very large flow-throughs, but they're completely plastic, so they don't breathe. So that can be an issue for people, but the Worm Factory is just not my favorite system, to be honest. But you can certainly use it. It's just, I don't want people to get frustrated. I really like the fact that so many people are starting and trying, and I don't think it's the best system if you want to have ease of use and when you go to harvest your bottom tray to have flaky, beautiful castings, because 9 times out of 10, it's just not that way. Miles of Worm says, our recycling bin started with 1 pound of worms and is thriving now. It'll probably fit 10 plus pounds by the time it's going full tilt. Yeah, you guys have that huge recycle bin, and the European nightcrawlers reproduce pretty well, and I think that they will certainly reproduce, and it'll be a boom come springtime when all of the cocoons hatch, because it's a little bit slower in these winter months. Roat, hello and welcome. Yeah, Rochelle, I think you're talking about the Worm Factory or large totes, but they can get very heavy. That's a good point to make. Witch on Wheels, join our worm journey. I think you may enjoy it, says PJ Nano Farms. I think, well, Witchy would like that. Trevorfoot says, I love my hungry bin. It's easy to manage. Guess it's a personal thing. Kelly Paulson, hello, welcome. Molly, are red wigglers really self-regulating? Because mine seem to be overpopulating my bin. They are self-regulating. If the bin's getting really, really full, you could split the bin, but you don't have to. They will stop reproducing. Sorry, I didn't mean to knock my camera here. They will stop reproducing until, some worms die off of old age, and then, they'll lay some more cocoons, but they will not overflow a bin. They might get smaller if they're cramped, like the worms won't get as fat, but they can do just fine without you having to split the bin. Wayne says, if you split totes, do about a third to a new tote or a tower. If you want to keep the totes and do 2/3 to a CFT, absolutely. To the CFT is continuous flow through. Fat Man Fishing, if anyone showed me love, please leave a comment on a video and I will get back in a little bit. I have to go, Crazy Worm Lady. Thank you for the knowledgeable information. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Fat Man Fishing. I really appreciate you stopping by. I hope some people check out your channel. Everyone is still saying hello to each other. I appreciate that. It's so much fun. So Melinda made a little guess on my community post the other day. I posted a picture of one of the succulents and asked what you guys thought was up with that. And like I said, I'm going to try the castings on the succulents and see how that goes. I'm also going to use my castings versus Tiffany's castings on some pothos plants that I bought. I'm looking to really start trying some more experiments with the plants, because that's where you really can see the benefit, kind of the cycle of how the castings give back to us. And then, you know, the worms keep that process going. We can use our garden waste then back in the worm bins, and it's just this really pretty process. AJ's Garden, you can start a worm bin in a 10-gallon cloth plant pot with a drip tray under it and do side-by-side feeding. Separating works great. I have some grow bags. That would be interesting to see if worms would do well in the grow bags. Again, like if I put a catch tray beneath it like AJ's recommending. Okay. Sir Wayne, yes, Sir Wayne is in here. Bye, Fat Man. Brett says, I use worm castings in our bunny gold on succulents and pothos and everything else, and it really makes the plants grow like wildfire. Yeah, the shamrock plants that I'm growing now, I don't know how you pronounce it, oxalis, they're doing fantastic. It's absolutely no competition that the ones with the castings are doing better than the ones without. Eugenio, hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please click the like button if you're coming in. Feel free to check out some of these other channels in here. If you're into the worms, learn some more. There's some fishing channels in here, all sorts of channels. Check them out. All right. AJ's Garden, I love pothos. You separate them to give as gifts all the time. That's awesome. I think like plants and stuff are really nice gifts for people because it's something that'll last a really long time. It's funny, one of the first plants that really kind of hit me in the heart was, I think it was like no, it's not an aloe plant, but it's just this beautiful, beautiful, almost like an waxy covered red and green leaves. It's hard for me to explain, but it's a house plant that I was given when I graduated nursing school in 2011. And we had it in a small pot on the kitchen counter at my parents' house. And it keeps getting repotted and repotted and repotted. And it's so large and beautiful now. It's still at my parents' house. And every time I go over and I see it, it just reminds me of the accomplishment, how exciting it was for me when I graduated nursing school. Tiffany says, Steve from the Urban Worm Company shared a picture of 3 landscape bags stacked on his email list. I might have missed that email. I get his emails. Yeah, if any of you guys are into the worm email lists, Red Worm Composting has a great email list. Get lots of cool content from him. He's doing a walking windrow experiment. His name is Bentley Christie. And right now he's in Canada and he has these big windrows that he's keeping his worms alive in. The blue worm bin, that's Larry that I was talking about earlier. He's been a mentor to me. He's got a lot of scientific knowledge and a lot more in-depth information than I have. And he also has a breeding program to teach people how to grow their populations. Then Steve with the Urban Worm Company. He's got a great email list, so certainly look into them if you'd be interested, and I'll link all of their websites below when we're finished here. Although I have done a pretty extensive list down below. I need to add a little bit to it, but of different channels that I enjoy and products that I use. But I'll make sure to update it with all of the information I can think of that we talked about tonight. 60 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit row at. To keep the worms indoors year round. Yeah, they'll survive down to about 50 or so. I mean, and they'll survive even lower than that, but they're going to really slow down if you get much lower than that. But red wigglers can even survive temperatures up to nearly 100, like into the 90s, because they'll go to the coolest spots. So you don't need to worry too much about that. They can do pretty well. PJ Nano Farms, I appreciate you coming so much. You're welcome. I appreciate it. Have a good night. Let's see. My computer is trying to restart, which that is not happening. Alright. So, yeah, Roat, you're right. The ideal temperature would be like 60 to 80. I was just trying to make the point that they can survive cooler and survive much warmer. Rochelle, darn, I was inspired to bring my shamrock plant back to life. I put castings in and forgot where I put the plant. Oh no. AJ's garden saying that the reds will do fine from 50 to 110 degrees. Wow. I know that people keep their worms alive like in the heat of Texas summers. If they're in a shaded area, if it's moist enough that they can kind of go to the areas where there's a breeze wicking off and keeping it a little bit cooler, or even burying like frozen water bottles, the worms do well. And that will keep, the core temperature a little bit cooler so the worms don't struggle. Ron, gotta go. Our elderly cat just yacked on the carpet. Ugh. Have fun with that. Sorry that happened. David Pruitt. Hey, thank you for your service to healthcare. Oh, you're welcome. I love being a nurse. I really do. It can be very stressful, but I do enjoy it. The ghost girl says, I live in your home. I'm making your computer play up. Oh, is that the reason why my computer was trying to restart on me? Welcome, ghost girl. Please click the like button. Okay, Grant had asked me 2 questions. One was about animal manures and experiences. Honestly, I've not used manures, so I can't say a whole lot about it, but there's a lot of people that do use manures, and you can find a lot of that content on different channels on YouTube. I hope she's linked below. Mumbai Balcony does not do a lot of worm videos anymore, but she used solely, I believe, cow manure, and her worms looked fantastic, so definitely check her out. The plant you're talking about is called bromelade. Jessica, welcome. Are you talking about the plant that I got for my nursing graduation? AJ's garden, I'm in Vegas and have them outside in pots in the sun, and they live in them all year round. That's encouraging to hear. I think, sometimes it can be a little bit of a scare thing, and we don't want people to be afraid. Because I know I was petrified about keeping these worms outside, and absolutely blown away with what I saw today with how cold the bins have gotten and how the worms are doing fantastic. But then again, in the summer, it can get pretty hot here in Maryland, but I'm going to try to keep the that bin in the exact same spot in the sun this summer and see what happens, just because I want to see how much of these recommendations that people make, or how many of these kind of just accepted truths, how much they really are true. And that's kind of why I've done all of my experiments with forbidden foods and things like that. Hey, so do you have a background in science? I love your experiments. I don't have a background in science. I'm actually not very good at sciencey stuff, but I just really, really enjoy running experiments, and I just enjoy kind of testing the limits, and especially in a growing community like this that's so environmentally friendly, I like to be able to provide people with more information than just some of the outdated material that's out there. So I figure why not give it a shot, do some different things, and show people what my experiences are, and if there are certain things that work better than others, certain, old wives' tales that are true, ones that aren't true, all of that. Danny Glick, hello, welcome. Click the like button. It drops to 30 to 40 in Vegas, and the worms survive out here in your pots. Yeah, apparently mine can survive in 8-degree temperatures. Just checking, making sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, AJ's Garden, if you're having good success and the worms are surviving, why spend all sorts of extra time on them? I think that's why I'm really enjoying doing some of these things and proving to myself that my worms can survive a whole lot, and I want other people to understand that their worms can too. So that is actually why I decided not to move the outdoor bin into my shed, because I was like, I started this whole thing to try to prove to people and myself that I could keep the worms alive. And honestly, I've done very minimal check-ins on that. I mean, every 2-3 weeks, it feel like is the only updates that I'm providing. And I want to see if in a relatively low amount of energy I can keep these worms alive. I'm not having to go out there constantly. I do think I'm going to start going out and just turning it up, but that's not really any sort of skin off my back. I don't mind going out and doing that, but I felt like moving it would be kind of defeating the purpose of what I want to show, which is that some of the extremes aren't going to be so terrible for the worms. Talk about worms here in St. Petersburg. People look at me like I'm a nut. I'm so happy we have this community. Yeah, whenever the worms come up in conversation, I feel instantly a little awkward, which I wish I didn't, because I'm so passionate about it and I love it. But there's just this weird stigma, especially regarding keeping worms in your house, and until people really experience it and hear about it and learn about it, they don't always get it, and they definitely don't understand some of us and our passion and why we're so obsessed with it. But yeah, I warmed up a lot to talking to a lot of my friends about it, and as a result, some of them have started. So Tiffany says, you're in a small town and worm farming is new here. But that's what's so cool, is that you guys can spread the word and show people how your plants are doing so much better than, other ones in the area. And maybe you can convince some of these other people to give it a shot themselves. AJ's Garden, that's an interesting point. I wonder if you're right, that over time, like, the worms do genetically kind of modify and morph, and what's the word I'm looking for? Evolve. They evolve to suit the environments that they're living in. Catherine says, I have a friend with 2 little boys and got her interested in the worms, but she won't keep them in the house or garage. It's so foreign to her. Yeah, I mean, I get that, but hopefully she'll warm up to it, especially if the kids are really interested in it. It might turn out okay. Lilia says, I make sure to show pictures and videos during dinner. That's funny. Is that a way to try to avoid people getting fluffy, or to scare people off, or to try to convince people to do the worm composting? I can sit and eat and watch the worm videos. It doesn't bother me at all, but Eugenio, yes, adapt. I was thinking adapt, evolve, all of that, yes, to suit the environments that they live in. Eugenio says, I put some worms from my garden to try and get the local DNA in my bin. That's interesting. I don't know if I completely understand, but I don't know if you mean like get some of the microbes and things like that that your local worms carry, like the native worms. But that's interesting. Yeah, AJ's Garden, the worms breed and adapt to your environment. The original ones you get might not survive, um, but then when they breed and the babies then will adapt to your environment. Exactly. Exactly. Catherine says I watch the worm videos in the morning with my coffee. Yeah, I watch mine all sorts of different times, but it doesn't turn my stomach at all to watch worm videos. Galen said Darwinism, yes, Roat, exactly. Survival of the fittest. Galen, I found a blonde red wiggler today. Like, is it albino or something? Like, it lacks color? That's really interesting. Eugenio, you watch at work. What do you do that you're able to sit and watch live streams at work? Ron, I'm glad you're back. Glad you were able to clean up the cat mess. I'm sure that wouldn't be my favorite chore either. Galen says, yeah, it was really light pink, almost white. That's interesting because I had that European nightcrawler a while back. I don't know if you guys remember. It was like pink one half and like the dark bluish, almost purple the other half. And that was fascinating to see, and I don't know exactly what that was about. Tiffany said I found pale red wigglers, or I find pale red wigglers all the time. I also think what they're eating depends on how dark their color is. They do have like a bloodline, but the actual body of the worm will be darker depending on what they're eating. We are ahead of the trend. I bought my own grocery bags in the 80s and people thought I was nuts, especially since my husband owned the grocery store. But see, if people don't start doing those things, they don't take off, so that's awesome. Roat. So technically worms don't survive in low and high temperatures. They just find a way to keep their descendants. Yeah. And that's probably how it works. Some of them may survive, but also in extremes, anytime worms are stressed, I think they tend to reproduce faster because they want to ensure the survival of their descendants, their ancestry. So I think that we will find in the overwintering bin that in the springtime we will get a ton of babies because I think some of these worms were probably reproducing pretty quickly as the temperatures were getting quite cold. The worm trend is awesome, and I think it's going to continue to grow. I've said it on almost every live stream. The recycling, problem in America, the waste problem in America. If people can, make this more mainstream, it can be an incredible way to try to keep so many things from hitting landfills. AJ's Garden says she's a nurse, so the stuff she sees will make you people pass out and throw up and wake up and then throw up again. Yeah, we do see some crazy stuff, but it's funny, we can sit and have dinner and talk about really disgusting things at work, after just being in a room where a patient puked, nearly on you, and doesn't bother me a bit. It's just my job. You just do what you gotta do. You're welcome, you're welcome. Worm gang, absolutely. I love the idea of calling us a worm gang. Alright, how long have we been live? Whew, over an hour. Grant had also asked me about future projects. I've talked a little bit about that. Definitely a lot more plant side-by-sides. Maybe once some of these other experiments retire, I'll definitely put something in their place. and I want to do the Pally experiment, which is pretty incredible. I'm working on getting something together to really explain that well, because it's kind of an in-depth thing, but I think it would be pretty cool. Melinda says a bedding project. Perhaps. That could be interesting, like doing side-by-side bins, like one with just cardboard and one with just newspaper, or coconut core versus egg crate. We could do something. That would be interesting. Wormancestry.com says my worms have DNA from everywhere. That's funny, Wayne. I like that. What do you do when you get too many baby worms? Is there such a thing as too many baby worms? Are you having an issue with the baby worms? Explain to me what you mean by that, and I can try to answer the question as best I can. Like I said, guys, check out some of these channels in here. Galen says I have 17 totes now. Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool. So, Galen, the worms will self-regulate. So, if you are running out of space, you don't want to keep splitting your bins, you don't have to. Just let them grow to size, and just like Wayne just said, and they'll stop reproducing. And that way you won't end up with more and more totes. But I understand. I'm about at that number right now myself. Zia Waste. Your worms are a fine melting pot. We don't discriminate. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm trying to think about how many bins I have now. I keep starting new ones and ending them. I have so many. I might be at 19 or 20. I don't know. Some small, some larger. Galen, why do you wish they were Euros? I'm assuming you have red wigglers? AJ's Garden, that's a good point. Do you have potworms? Are you asking me or are you asking Galen? I do have the occasional potworm. And I had one issue in the past where they kind of exploded. But in general, they tend to just go away on their own. Galen says, yes, she has potworms. Her fish love them. Yeah, if I had a fish tank, the potworms, I'd almost try to encourage them to reproduce. But if anybody has never seen a potworm, it's, I mean, an itty bitty, very, very, like, almost thread thin white worm. And, I mean, they're not even a half-inch long for the most part. And they're excellent for aquarium fish, but they tend to like more acidic conditions, so sometimes they can be an indication of an acidity problem in your bin. David Pruitt, the Sandman cometh. Good night, and thank you for the great info. Thank you for stopping by, David. I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good night's sleep. AJ's Garden says, sell the worms on Craigslist. Yeah, if you're concerned you have too many worms and you want to get rid of some, by all means, you could try to sell them, give them away, or like I said, just stop feeding. They won't outgrow the space that they have. Okay. Gonna get another sip of my drink here. Okay. So, I think it was Catherine, my hillside garden, asked me about bedding and if one was better than another. I personally don't think so. I think that every bedding has its pros and cons, to be honest with you. I'd say the one that I really love and I don't have a lot of complaints about is the cardboard. Cardboard, I feel like it retains moisture well. The worms absolutely love it. And I don't have many issues with it matting up or anything like that. But things like newspaper. I like newspaper because I can hand shred it. I can put it through my shredder. But it tends to mat down a lot. And it will either get super soggy or it will dry out. So I think, honestly, at the end of the day, a mix of bedding is best. Egg crates, similar to cardboard, really don't have many cons in my opinion. I will just put them in dry with a feeding and they absorb the moisture and it works quite well. I've actually put like an egg crate and fed inside of it, and it disintegrated over time. It absorbed the moisture well and kept things from getting soggy. My hillside garden, I tend to use recycled junk mail and I find it so clumpy. If you have like Amazon boxes or egg crates, even a little bit of coconut coir, if you have it, I don't encourage people to buy things just for their worms, but if you could mix it, then it would be less likely to clump up on you. Catherine says her shredder won't do cardboard, but it will do toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls. Well, you could use some egg crates. You could use those toilet paper and paper towel rolls, mix that up. Even mixing like some coffee grounds in with your bedding will help because it's, you know, kind of gritty, and that will keep it from clumping up quite as much, I think. Yeah, Roat, I love the egg crates as well. We take for granted these days, but a single Dorito has more extreme nacho flavor than what a 1400s peasant would have in their entire life. That's funny, it's true. Catherine, what about cereal boxes? So the glossy printed cardboard and newspaper, a lot of people discourage. They say that there's like a thin plastic-like film that doesn't break down well. However, I have seen someone, I believe it's in the Redworm Composting forum on Facebook, and he ran his worm factory as an experiment just with the glossy cardboard, and he had some small pieces of like a plastic film he had to pull out at the end, but the worms did fine with it. Zia Waste, I got a new shirt today, Emily, you're going to love it. It says saving the world one worm bin at a time. That's so cool. I have a shirt that says, ask me about my worm bin. Ron says, I thought my shredder would only do 5 sheets at a time, but upon closer inspection, the actual number is 3. I gotta get a better one. Manual, welcome. I didn't see you come in here. I found white caterpillars in my bin. Are they bad? I'm honestly not sure. If you can find out like what species they are and what they eat, they might be fine and live safely with your worms, but keep an eye on it, make sure. Galen says she likes old horse manure, cardboard, coffee grounds, and oyster shell as her favorite bedding. So I guess you mix those together. That would be cool. Branches and leaves. Grant wants to get a better shredder as well. Oh, Roat says, I have similar worms. I think you mean caterpillars. And they turned into some sort of moth-like bug. Ugh. Well, keep an eye on it. Galen says she's had no problem with cereal boxes. Yeah, Catherine, so I would just give it a try and see. You know, all of the inks, or most of the inks now, are required to be soy-based. So I don't think the ink issue would be a problem. So why not give it a shot and see how it goes? Yeah, if you mix that in with your junk mail, it'll probably prevent it from matting up, definitely. Melinda, Tom with the Vermibag is doing a trash bin with worms. He's putting all kinds of stuff in it. Yes, Melinda, I've seen that. I mean, he's literally just hand shredding. He's not putting anything through a fancy shredder and throwing that into one of his Vermibags. And the worms are doing quite well in it. And I've seen he had like, I want to say it was like Pop-Tart boxes and all sorts of stuff he was putting in there. I think I have his channel linked below. It's Vermibag Tutorials. If not, I'll put it in there. Tiffany says, I've used chipboard before. You just pull the plastic out when you harvest. What's chipboard? I'm not sure that I know what that is. Swampy Acres Homestead. I've had the hubby hand cutting newspaper today. Good man. He's a keeper. Galen says, I saw Tom's video and started using cereal and also 12-pack pop cardboard too. Galen, you must be from the south. Pop, call it soda up here. Do you prefer the Vermi bag or the Urban Worm bag? I need to upgrade from the Worm Factory 360. Oh, cereal and cracker boxes, Tiffany said. I'll have to try that because I got a lot of those things around as well. So, Brett, honestly, I think that they're both excellent. The temperature in the area that you live in would definitely kind of play a role in what would be best for you. The Vermi bag, I like that there's options because there's the mini, the max, and the max is about the same size as the Urban Worm bag, and then there's the Mammoth, which is absolutely humongous. And you can check out Vermi bag tutorials to see that. And also, Grant just started a Vermi bag Mammoth, and it is like huge, 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 huge. But it's a much more breathable system, so I feel like in an arid environment, it might have problems because it will dry out very fast on you. The Urban Worm bag, on the other hand, retains moisture really well, so it would be really good in an arid environment. And then the Vermi bag would be really good if you're in one of these, rainy subtropical areas. It's just hard to say. But the Vermi bag would probably also be good if you get very hot and you're going to be keeping it in an area that's hot because it'll be able to breathe a little bit better. They just have a little bit of different nuances with the amount of moisture they retain. But harvesting is excellent with both of them. I like both of their stand designs, so I think either one would really be great. I feel like I'm missing something here. Yeah, Brett, go check out Grant's channel. Absolutely. Grant says I think he's talking about the Mammoth, the Vermi bag Mammoth. It dries out quick. I have to keep it sprayed with water. Yeah, I also find that the more the castings build up in the system, like when you first start it, it's harder to maintain, but as the castings build up because of their really good water retaining, properties, it gets easier to maintain the moisture. But in the beginning, even with my Urban Worm bag, at times I would be too dry or too wet. You just have to find that balance, and once the compost starts building up, it's usually minimally a factor or a problem. You're welcome. I hope that was somewhat helpful. I would want to upgrade from a worm factory as well. Honestly, I've thought a lot about retiring my worm factory. I don't think I will, but it's definitely more work than what it's worth, in my opinion. Manuel says, I recommend the flow-throughs, exactly, because they zip shut. And like you said, the worm factory brings in fruit flies and things like that because it doesn't seal shut. Yeah, I agree with that as well. Wayne says chipboard is a lot like plywood. It's made with chips and chunks of wood, glued and heat pressed together. Thank you, Wayne. And I think some of those glues and things like that, and as well as in the cardboard, the worms just go crazy for it. I don't know exactly. I think I heard it was like is it soy-based? I can't remember what type of glue it is, but it's completely safe for the worms, but they absolutely love it. And then you see them climbing through the flutes of the cardboard, laying their cocoons in there. It's super cool. Tiffany says, it's very true. It's hard to keep shredded paper moist. Yeah. And shredded cardboard, too, if it's on the surface of, especially like a continuous flow through, it can dry out fast on you. Cornstarch, Ron, you're right. Yes, the glue is made from cornstarch. My mistake. Thank you. Manuel said, I asked Tom to give me the full mesh top because I live down south. And is Tom going to be able to do that for you? Tom makes all of his bags by hand, which is pretty amazing. And he can also customize your bag for you. So there's a lot of additional options with the Vermi bag. But if you ask him to do certain things for your systems, if he can, he will. He's great to work with, as well as Steve with the Urban Worm Company. They're all excellent to work with. Super nice, really, really good people. So can't go wrong with either one of those systems, I think. All right, guys, how long have we been live? Almost an hour and a half. So I'm going to drop a video here probably tomorrow. It's a really short video, but I don't know if you guys saw my community post with a picture of little tiny worm looking thing, but it looked like it had something growing out of it. And I wanted to tell you something I learned. It was pretty fascinating. So, we moved the African night crawlers like 2 weeks ago into their new 15-gallon tote. We're doing the carbon-only experiment. And are you guys still in here? My chat has stopped moving. So if you're still in here, somebody drop me a comment just so that I know. So we moved those. Okay, good, you're here. So moved those African night crawlers into that big tote, as well as the European night crawlers, and we started that out. So I was filming my update the other day that won't be posted for another few days, but I was filming it, and I found these little tiny, I don't know, maybe about an inch long, super feisty, floppy, white looking worms. And I was looking at them closely, and they're kind of ribbed, almost like you would see a red wiggler or a European nightcrawler. Chat attack. Glad you're still here, guys. Thank you. But when I picked one up and held it in my hand, it had no organized, like, crawling movement the way a worm does. So I reached out to a few people and sent out an SOS on the Worm Farming Alliance group, which is, it's a paid subscription group on Facebook for people who are looking to do a little bit more large scale things like that. But a lot of people with a lot of really extensive scientific knowledge, much more than I have. And apparently, the African nightcrawlers, more than any other worm, can drop their tail like a lizard. And when they're stressed, it's a kind of a defense mechanism, because the tail falls off and it flops around and it distracts the predator so that they can go away. And then the worm will regrow its tail. So apparently the stress of the move has had several of my African nightcrawlers dropping their tails, and apparently they can survive the tails for up to 2 weeks. So it will be interesting. It will be interesting. I was really sad that I thought I might have killed them and like they had gotten chopped in half, but that's why it looked like there was a little something growing from the bottom of this little tail piece, and I was like, oh my gosh, did I pull a worm apart? Well, no, just apparently my worms decided to shed their tails on me because I stressed them out. So I was joking the other day that somebody told me I was a little rough with my worms, and I like to think that I'm pretty kind to them, but apparently I'm not so kind to my African nightcrawlers. I stressed them out. But I thought that was very interesting that they drop their tail like a lizard. They will regrow that tail, but the tail will eventually die. But the worm will survive. It will still be able to reproduce, all of those things. But certainly fascinating, and I did not know that, so I'm happy I know it now. But I will post that short video. There's really no sound to it, but I just show what it is, and then I show how I figured out how it was not an African nightcrawler, because it was just so fast moving and flopping when the African nightcrawler moved with purpose and was slow moving. So you'll see. Pretty cool. Yeah, Tiffany, it did look like it had legs from that one little clip. Tiffany is in the Worm Farming Alliance and saw that clip. Yeah, it was gross. It was gross, and I thought it might have legs too. It had me all sorts of upset yesterday. But luckily, it did not have legs. No legs. And it will eventually die in there. But yes, enough of them dropped their tails that I easily spotted them. I think when I was going through, I counted about 5 or 6. But I instantly spotted them because they'd be like wiggling like this out of the compost. And, the African nightcrawlers crawl around, but they're not feisty worms by any means. So the tail just like it should be for a predator, was distracting to me, and that's how I spotted them. Yeah, Catherine, it is gross, but it was an interesting learning experience, and if anybody ever has that happen with their African night crawlers, hopefully they won't panic the way I did. Manuel said that Tom with Vermibag did get him the full mesh top. Yeah, that's great. He's very good to work with. Like I said, I've been really grateful and lucky to have worked with Tom as well as with Steve with these two new continuous flow through systems. They're just excellent people, and they do their best to make everything right and to please their customers. Oh my gosh, Wayne. He says a little tail gets stressed out and it dies. Is that sexual harassment? That's funny. Oh, I hope not. I hope not. Oh my goodness. Well, I'm going to stay on here for a few more minutes, guys, because there's still 24 of you in here, so I do enjoy talking with you guys, but I did want to share that with you because I was just, like, blown away when I finally got confirmation that it was, in fact, a tail and not some sort of weird larva or something like that. At first, it was suggested to me that it could possibly be this specific type of fly's larva, and I thought I was going to have a panic attack. I felt like it was the beetles all over again, and I was not ready to have to mentally tackle that. So luckily, it wasn't anything like that. PTSD, Wayne. Yep, that's right. So, any of you guys that are heading out, I appreciate everyone hopping in here. There's no pressure to stay at all. I just appreciate you guys being here. But like I said, I'll stay in here for a little while, answer any more questions, just chat with you guys. As long as you have questions, I will hang around for a bit. The floor is larva. I'm trying to figure out what you mean by that, Ron. Rochelle, I'm glad I learned this. I will still panic. I don't know if all the worms do it, to be honest. I should have asked. But I was told that it is more common with the African night crawlers. But regardless, if you see a situation like that, don't panic right away. Hopefully it's nothing. I'm going to get going. Things to do. Thanks for this evening. Always a pleasure. Good night, Catherine. Thank you so much. I'm going to hop over and watch your bone broth video. Oh, Ron, that the kids game, The Floor is Lava, where you have to jump from like carpet to carpet and piece of furniture to piece of furniture. Yeah, I played that as a kid too. That's funny. Good night, Lilia. Thank you for stopping by. Go make some dinner. I appreciate it very, very much. So Lilia, Catherine are heading out. Thank you very much, Brett. I will definitely reach out if I have any questions. I really, really appreciate that because I have a lot to learn. Like I said, I have no experience with the succulents. I bought them on a whim because I thought they were beautiful and I thought it would be a fun experiment to try. Okay. Anybody else? What systems are you running? What questions do you have? Oh, thank you, Tiffany. Good night. You take care. I'm going to have to check out that cocoon update and stay tuned for me using your compost. I'm going to send some out to you as well. Maybe we can have some fun with that. Amber, are you leaving? Good night. Thank you for coming. Yes, Grant, I do know all of the systems you're running, but I would love to hear anybody else's systems that I don't know about. Grant, do you have any side systems like I do, like hidden systems that you don't film? Because I do have a couple of those. Let's see here. Yeah, Tiffany's doing like these little small cocoon experiments in these tiny little like size of like a pill bottle. Like, it's gonna be really cool. Yeah, Rochelle, if you haven't checked out Lilia's channel, she's got incredible worm content every day. Rana, do the Homer Simpson system. Duh. I gotcha. Or is it Doe? I don't know. I never watched the Simpsons very much. Let's see. Alright, guys. The chat is slowing down, so any final questions? And I will be logging out of here. Thank you, Melinda. Go tuck in that grandbaby. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Alright, guys, I think we're going to call it a night. I appreciate everyone stopping by. It means a lot to me. So come back if you have any questions. You can drop them in the comments below when this goes on replay, and I will try to drop some more information that we talked about tonight into that description. So I appreciate you guys being patient with me, but I'll make sure I have that updated within the next hour or so that you guys can check some of those email listings out, some videos. I'll link all sorts of stuff for you. You're welcome, Galen. Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys have an excellent night, and we will have to do a poll and find out what the consensus is for a time next month to do our live stream. All right, guys. Hope you have a great night.